The Darker Side of the Moon is an alternative talk variety show.
DarkerSideRadio.com.
Since 2006, host Becky Ray and Laura Moon speak with independent filmmakers, authors, musicians, artists, and many, many more.
DarkerSideRadio.com.
Sometimes serious, mostly fun, the show has a little for everyone.
DarkerSideRadio.com.
Was it odd, freaky, and you didn't hear it on the 5 o'clock news? Then we'll probably cover it here.
DarkerSideRadio.com.
Darker Side currently airs live Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 7 p.m. Central and 5 p.m. Pacific.
DarkerSideRadio.com.
If you happen to miss it, you can listen to show archives at any time online at DarkerSideRadio.com, or you may subscribe to the show on iTunes.
DarkerSideRadio.com.
Oh yeah, the Ghostman and Demon Hunter show is rocking its way on the supernatural scene.
It's drive time paranormal broadcasting without the driving or the timing. Just go to www.ghostanddemon.com.
Think you know what goes bump in the night? You ain't heard nothing yet.
Each week we'll be bringing you the best and the worst kept secrets in the paranormal community.
Yeah, us, the Ghostman and Demon Hunter, Sunday from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Ghostanddemon.com. The Ghostman and Demon Hunter show is beyond the normal broadcast.
What are we made of? Why do I get sick? How can I live a more balanced and whole life? These are just a few of the questions explored each week by naturopath, medical intuitive, and clairvoyant Dr. Rita Louise on Just Energy Radio. Explore your possibilities every Friday evening from 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Join us at justenergyradio.com.
In 1987, Treyce DeGabriel founded the Center of Forensic Profiling and recently retired. Congratulations, after 22 years, but continues to work as a private consultant. During the past 22 years, she has been featured on many radio and television talk shows, as well as in the written media. She attained recognition as an internationally recognized trainer for various law enforcement, educational, human resources, psychiatric agencies, and more. She is the published author of over 200 freelance articles, several books, and various training materials, all related to the science of forensic handwriting analysis.
Yes.
She has completed casework for many law enforcement agencies as well as private agencies, including For the Kids, Lost Child Network, and Missing and Exploited Children. Ghostly Talk would like to welcome Treyce back to the show. Of course, the website, www.treyce.com. And welcome back to the show.
Hi, guys. It's so nice to be back.
I know, it's been a little while, and I think the last time, actually, if I remember this correctly, I made a drop on, because you do a show. Are you still doing your show?
Actually, when I retired from the agency, the new owner, who was my previously had been my training supervisor, she actually is going to take over the show as well.
Oh, how interesting.
So the show's going to keep going, but this is not going to be me being the host anymore.
Well, sometimes it takes a change to help affect growth and things like that. Because
that's why we're firing you, Doug.
Oh.
Well, you know what? I tell my clients all the time. I tell my clients all the time. They're upset, and some people don't handle change very well. So I tell my clients, okay, look at the change and ask yourself a question. Are you broken down and defeated, or are you broken open so you can transform? It's all in how you look at it.
Doug's been broken down for years
I'm
now.
broken down, defeated, old, and decrepit.
So we're like, look, Doug.
About 40 years ago.
We're just gonna shoot this horse out back and move on.
I don't even think we can make glue out of it.
Look out! All right. So I'm sorry. I'm taking as many pot shots at Doug as I can this week, Treyce.
And actually, I'm supposed to be ragging on you after our conversation on the porch.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I will now turn all my focus onto you.
Oh, great.
That helps me out.
Dr. Gabe, look out. I'm going to be just getting piled on now for the rest of this discussion.
Okay.
But I think sometimes change is good because you, Treyce, get to move on and do the things that interest you. And because obviously this interested you, otherwise you wouldn't have founded the center. But then, sometimes in order to grow, some changes have to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And it was one of those things where at the 20th year I considered it, I came really close, and then I thought, okay, I just can't let go quite yet. 21st year came, did the same thing, was like, I can't do it. 22nd year came, I'm done.
Well, I had the pleasure of dropping onto your show before you retired.
And it was awesome.
Yeah, I had a good time. We come on there, and I had to submit a sample of my handwriting, which I wanted to do. I remember the last time we had you on, I was like, I really want to try this.
Did it come out that you're a psychopath?
Pretty much.
Totally.
Right? Yeah,
totally, but I'm still talking to him, so that's good.
I got
really,
kicked
off
the
show
point,
that
I'm
night.
just looking for a reason to stop talking to him. So if you tell me he's a psychopath, other than my own opinion of him, of course, which will never change.
Yeah, no, it was to be independently verified.
Right.
We'd
if you can tell me forensically that he's psycho, I'm out.
Well, anybody that, I have a lot of people that will hear the show, and they're always like, God, I really want to see what my handwriting says about me.
Yeah.
And so I always tell all the shows that I'm on is if the listeners email me and say, I heard you on so-and-so show, like on this show, Ghostly Talk show, they can get a free mini thing like you got, Scott.
Yeah.
I want to know what mine is now.
Oh,
do they need to email you or something like that, Dr. Gabe?
Yeah, they just need to go on the site, and then the email's right there. They can just hit the email link, and it'll go right to me. And then all they have to do is just say, Ghostly Talk, I heard you on Ghostly Talk. I wanted to see what my mini handwriting thing says. So they're called quickies.
I'm all for quickies.
I always love a quickie.
If you could see
and apparently Scott is really good at them because he doesn't like to get sweaty.
Right, Treyce, you picked the wrong night to come on this show, man. I'm telling you.
Oh God, I love it.
This
You guys are awesome. I needed this today. It was great.
We got another 50 minutes of this stuff.
Oh no!
If you're in a good mood now, boy, you are going to be beaming by the time we're done with this thing. So no, okay, yeah, no.
All people have to do is go to www.treyce.com, TREYCE.com. Of course, that's linked up at ghostlytalk.com.
Forever and ever.
And say, look, I heard you on Ghostly Talk, and I want to know what should I be committed? I guess I don't know.
Well, it's fun because you can have your husbands and wives and bosses, and you can get insight into anything. Children, anybody age 9 and up usually works really well.
Well, could people who are interested in this for themselves? Because I want to get into the forensic stuff too, but the for themselves, do they fill out, do they just write something down and then scan it, or can people with picture phones or cameras or whatever take a picture of a piece of paper that they wrote?
They can do it. Actually, the best way to do it is to scan it and email it, or they can fax it. My fax number's on the website.
Oh, perfect.
One of the two would work fine, as long as I have an email that's typed, that's typed or printed clearly that I can actually read it.
Yeah.
Zeros are specifically zeros and not the letter O, and things like that.
Yes.
Or ones and L's, if we can tell those apart. So it's really good if we can block print those, so I know exactly what each letter is. So.
Well, everybody check that out.
I think that would be fascinating.
I'm going to, and I'm going to say I'm a co-host of Ghostly Talk. Am I a psycho?
Exactly. Well, you have to be if you guys are all working together.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I decided 8 years ago.
Well,
okay. It's good, because people can go into their drawers of happy birthday and happy anniversary cards, and they can measure the P stems, the length of happy, the 2 P stems. And the more uneven they are, the more likely whoever wrote that is apt to cheat.
Oh. Ooh. Happy anniversary, honey. I love you very... I just driving the... I love you so much.
And if they're even length, then that means they're faithful, so...
Wow, really?
All kinds of little tips.
We're all going to write happy here in a minute.
You know what's really,
write it 3 times. Because you take majority rule, so if you write it 3 times, you go with what 2 of them say.
Do you know what's really bad? Bonnie saves every single card she's ever gotten, ever. I even wrote on a card to her once. I said, I know you're going to save this forever, ever and ever. That's why I'm giving you a card. It's just, and I'm sure it's still there, right?
It seems silly.
Ooh, Bonnie, think of the insight you could get.
Yeah.
I know.
Like, oh my gosh, Grandma was running around.
Hey.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
You can joke about anyone you want. Leave my grandparents out of it.
I know.
Boy, second taboo we've tripped over on buying it. First it was GD, and now it's your grandparents.
That's just a personal thing I don't like, okay?
I'm just pointing these things out, Bonnie, because you're pointing everything out on me now.
Well,
How about
we're going
to
battle?
You're slimming down, so it's easier to see your flaws. All
right, can we get something done tonight? I would really like to get something done tonight.
Okay, I'll shut up.
I guess here,
this is quite a night to come on.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is somewhat of a reunion too, because we have, it's been.
Yeah, when you don't get when you don't get to jab at somebody every day or every week at least, you gotta save them up, and then when you don't see somebody after a month, you really gotta just take tender loving care and then fending them as much as possible.
Yeah, our handwriting tonight would look like bullet entry points.
You need to fill the back and see if it's lighter pressure or if it feels like Braille on the back.
Oh,
if it feels like Braille, then it's time for you to take a vacation.
Well, let me ask you something. Now, I guess before I dropped on your show and you told me about my stuff. But that's one thing that's interesting because I just spent doing that certification thing I just did. I wrote God, I should send those all to you, Dr. Gabe.
Oh, she'd be so bored reading about AIS.
But no, that's not the point.
Oh my God!
I don't read it though. I don't read what's written.
I
that's
thought
what's
it
great
could be
about
anything from Scott.
Yeah, you're not reading what's being. Obviously, you're not reading the boring stuff. But you're looking at the
formation of the letters, the conjoining.
Because I was noticing that too. It was hilarious because these notebooks I was trying to be somewhat green about this, and I would write on the back side of the paper. I wasn't just blowing through one notebook after another, and it was getting kind of rough on some days because I'd be writing so hard that I'd be putting it through the other side of the paper.
What about writer fatigue? What about writer fatigue? There is a point I remember from when I used to write and not just type on computers. I would get to a point where suddenly it just became very, very difficult to write. I mean, does it show any difference if you're into a very long
if you're tired,
like a manifesto or something. I'm writing out my manifesto and I'm about 2/3 of the way through, and suddenly my handwriting looks different. I'm completely fatigued.
You can actually see fatigue in the handwriting, and that's why when I work on murder cases or things like that, or one case comes to mind particularly where I worked for the Mexican consulate. And the Mexican consulate hired me to look at the handwriting of kidnappers of a 9-year-old girl, and then the 9-year-old girl's handwriting as she was held captive. And you could see that in there that she was worn out and tired, as opposed to being a typical 9-year-old healthy girl. Mm-hmm. So you can see things like that, and it's amazing what you see, and you can watch food circulate through the stomach. You can, see if somebody's pregnant with one kid or 2 kids, and I mean, there's so much you can see. It's just amazing. It's amazing science.
So it's all related. Your body and how it's functioning and what it's doing, and your psychology as well. Your frame of mind, your tiredness level, it's all related, and it all comes out in everything you do then at that point, even handwriting.
Well, the situation, I guess the situation, and Dr. Gabe, please back me up on this if I'm correct. Like, I was just thinking about, one of the few times I write during the month, actually write stuff, is when I'm writing bills. Mm-hmm. And I'm still old school. The majority of my bills I still write checks for and mail them.
All online.
I know, Mr. Tech over here, but I still do it old school. I control my own money, thank you very much. But so like, anyways, sorry, Bonnie. I find myself, I don't know why, but I've noticed this myself that my writing tends to be a bit more sloppy when I'm writing checks for some reason. Maybe it's... Gosh,
you don't want to get rid of that money, huh?
That's a no-brainer, I thought. Yeah, it's kind of like, well, maybe, you're $1,000 there, a house payment, all this crap. Yeah, and I think that was a no-brainer, like...
Bail.
I know. Yeah, God, bail.
Yeah, because, honestly, it's like doctors. People ask me all the time, why do doctors have such messy handwriting? Well, first of all, the messier handwriting that you have, as long as it's legible, not perfect, but at least people can make out what it says, the more psychologically stable somebody is.
Really?
And doctors write fast because first of all, they're in a hurry. They're fast thinkers. They have 1,000 things on their mind. They have other clients to see. But then on top of that all, we tend, as human beings, to write sloppier when it's something that, for lack of better words, irritates us, or something that we don't want to do, or something that we'd rather procrastinate on.
Yeah.
Things like that is very circumstantial when it comes to that type of thing. But usually what changes is legibility and sometimes pressure, slant, and things like that. But the personality traits are formed at age 13, and they're there forever unless you clear them out.
So a doctor then, you did say that the sloppier their handwriting is, the more stable they are?
Yes, psychologically, yes.
I am mentally unstable then, because my handwriting is relatively neat.
My handwriting is atrocious.
Oh, you're mentally stable? Wow.
And that goes back to what I said at the beginning of the show. My crap is together.
I'm right between the two. I'm like
my handwriting. You saw it, Dr. Gabe. It's a joke. My handwriting is chicken scratch, essentially. Martians couldn't read it. For God, it's horrible.
Well, you see, the thing is the closer that it gets to looking like its own font, the more scary it is.
Yeah, that is pretty freaky. If you're inventing your own, font.
Ooh, I never thought about that. Well, who would put...
It's really perfect writing and very controlled on the outside. That means you want people to see you as controlled on the outside. However, on the inside, it means you're overcompensating for maybe... saying you're going to emotional breakdown or something like that. You're feeling like you're crumbling apart or falling apart internally. So to prevent anybody else, the self-protection in us, to prevent anybody else from looking at us that we're falling apart, we control our font so we can control our bodies and our appearance. So that's why it gets so scary, because we don't know what those people are capable of. So.
It's interesting.
At least if you write messy, we know if you're capable of something or not.
See, I'm totally frightened of the teenage girls who dot their I's with little hearts.
Oh my God,
that terrifies me. But
that's like a clown suit on top of a water tower waiting to happen with a shotgun.
Exactly.
You're out of your mind. You're psychotic. First breakup you have with your first love, it's all over with.
Restraining orders for days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're right. No, it's interesting because,
You have to watch out for the felon's clause. Those are the ones that you have to watch out for. Felon's clause and stingers.
Felon's clause and stingers. Okay, what are...
Yeah, please.
What are we watching for?
You know how if you look at graffiti, they have a very common theme where they can... Let's say they write the number 3, and then the exit stroke on the bottom of the 3 does kind of an inverted loop.
Yeah.
It kind of goes down.
Yeah.
Okay, or like they make a Y, and that instead of making a loop going down and up, it goes up and then down like a claw, like an upside down U almost on the exit. Those are felons.
Wow.
So they're Satan.
And then stingers are like when you look at the top of an A or a C or a G. It's a stroke that goes up, over, and then when it comes back to make the loop, it comes down to make the loop, it makes two, like a stinger shape, like a stinger of a V. It's 2 strokes that go over the top of, like the oval of the G or C or the A. Those are stingers, and those are usually manipulation and insincerity aimed at the opposite sex.
Wow.
I want all of us to get our handwriting analyzed
right now. Well, here's my question, though. When we were growing up in elementary school, and we were taking our, when we were learning how to write,
everybody learns the same.
I think there's obviously some slack in there because we all learn the same, but we'll never produce the same, right?
Right.
But I used to get just yelled at and screamed at if my homework wasn't turned in completely perfect. So what you're saying it makes me think here, like, no wonder there's so many nutbags in this country now. We were all taught.
Well,
I mean, going along with what you said, I mean, I'm laughing about it, but I mean, my writing is ridiculous. I said it; it's horrible. But I have, like, my dad. Oh my God! Oh crap! Oh, poor Mr. L. Oh my God, Dad L. My dad's got really. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The thing is that for till about 4th grade or so, they have that the writing, the alphabet hanging on the wall in the classroom, and then if you think about it, when we're hit about 12 or like 7th grade, our writing goes to hell. Then we start doing the hearts and the flowers for eye dots, and we start doing the doubled letters, and we start doing all kinds of fancy stuff because we've been so controlled like a machine, almost cloned as far as writing all the way through elementary. So when we hit 12, 13, we're ready to rock out of all that and do our own thing, and that's where our personality traits don't form till age 13 in handwriting. So we can write whatever we want to until age 13. When 13 hits, that's when we need to really make up our mind that we're going to stick with, because that's when people are going to start noticing and the traits are going to start locking in.
What about an interesting question coming in the chat room here? What about people who write in all caps? Or on the opposite, all lowercase letters. Is there something involved with that?
Well, the way, first of all, I get these questions a lot. As far as all caps go, first you have to look and see, are they in an industry or profession where they require that, or not really required, more as if it's expected, such as architecture, military, accounting, police. These are all types of industries that pretty much are asking you to cap everything for legibility and purposes on the report. So if we're talking about that kind of a thing, then in order to get their handwriting really analyzed and know who they truly are, then you have to go back before they actually enter that profession and see what they really look like. Now, on the other hand, if they've always done that, that means that they have a strong business sense. If they're not in any of those categories as far as careers, they have a strong business sense, and they are independent and don't put forming relationships as a priority. They tend to be more logic-based as opposed to emotional-based. With regard to lowercase, usually it's a self-esteem issue. Specifically, I'll give you an example. Ted Bundy. He signed his name Ted, and the T is lowercase. And not only is the T lowercase, the upper part of the T above the stem, above the T-bar, is a knife, shaped like a knife.
Yeah.
So that shows that he has thoughts where, he could kill people because there's a weapon, and it's up in his upper zone, which is mind. And then because he has a lowercase t, it means that he feels very, very inferior. So the whole power of killing and everything that he was doing was just feeding into his inferiority so he could feel more powerful. So it really depends on where are these letters at. If they're in the name, it's very significant of various things such as suicidal thoughts and tendencies and inferiority complex, low self-esteem. If it's on random words, it just depends on where it shows up and how much inconsistency or consistency there is in the rest of the writing.
Okay, yeah. I know one thing that's for sure. I mean, here's another example. This just to throw out there. My signature, when I sign something, it's never the same. And I've been doing this for years, and I've had people give me go, "You're going to reproduce that thing?" I'm like, "Nope." I'm going to do the best I can. But what does that say something? Or am I totally nuts also? Again.
Well, what happens with signatures is, first of all, the rule of thumb is in the industry is never to analyze a personality based on signature, because it does have various changes depending on how you feel about yourself and the situation, what's going on in your mind. A lot of people have various signatures because we sign our name differently, as if we're writing signing a love card to somebody in our family, as opposed to signing a check for business or signing a letter for business or something like that. We have various types of signatures, so that's why personality is never analyzed on signatures alone.
Okay, so I mean, we're not going to base it off that. Another thing that was mentioned, another question we had, and Reep is all about this, and Reep So Radio, got to mention, the man, he
absolutely
love to listen to him. He's great, but he also asked about exaggerated caps. And I've done this before too. I know I've done this, but do you know what I'm talking about? The exaggerated capital letter.
We're talking about they're too big. They're
huge.
Too big.
Yeah, they're gigantic. Yeah. Kind of like in those old books you'd read with the gigantic capital letter.
See, I always thought that was really classy looking.
I thought it looked cool
book.
too. Yeah. What does that mean?
Well, the thing is the bigger it gets, when capital letters, first of all, are the top of the capital letters always reach into one's mind, and so. If those get bigger and bigger and bigger, the person's mind and their thoughts and their expectations and their goals get more and more unrealistic as they get bigger. Now, on top of that, they have usually people have a hard time going to sleep. The same thing with people who have very tall L's or upper, high letters. They usually have a harder time going to sleep because their mind is going with so many things that they have a hard time shutting it off. And if they do manage to get to sleep, it's usually due to mental exhaustion. Because their mind is so busy.
On a completely unrelated note, does anybody actually write a capital Q in handwriting as like that stylized number 2, or do they all revert back to an actual Q like a?
I've mixed handwriting and straight writing for years.
I remember
doing
the
English language.
I remember doing the Q, and when you learn Q in cursive, you're supposed to do this funny 2-looking thing that I just absolutely never did it after that class was done or that.
And you were testing on it.
And then I'm like, okay, Q goes back to being a capital Q. Because that looks like a Q to me. A 2 does not look like a Q to me.
No, I'm the same way. I was the same way with that. I was like, I'm not doing this.
I just don't understand how they expected us to write a 2 and have that be a capital Q.
Wow,
it doesn't work.
Well, the benefit is when your letters look like numbers, it means it really essentially means that you're good at numbers, whether it's manipulating like as in math or remembering. So the Q itself being shaped like a number 2 is actually good for mathematical ability, but it just looks really funky.
I mean, it looks ridiculous. So perhaps if I were more of a mathematician or something, I might have kept with it.
Probably like it.
Yeah, and even like it, but I just think it's silly. I see it's break time.
Yeah, let's take a quick break here. Is that cool with you, Dr. Gabe?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Just want to make sure. Yeah, let's take a quick break here. I want to get into some other stuff here after the break, though, too. I mean, this is really cool talking about this.
This is a lot of fun.
This is a lot of fun to talk about this, but there's some other stuff we want to hit up on here, too. So we'll take a quick break here. We're talking to Dr. Treyce DeGabriel about handwriting, forensic analysis, all this cool stuff. It's just, I find this fascinating. I just find it so fascinating.
It's very addicting.
It is addicting, I tell you. We'll be back after this.
Ghostly Talk!
Hi, this is Luke, and this is Tobin from Quest Research. Hey, Tobin, what do you get when 4 guys with absolutely no video experience whatsoever decides to produce their own online paranormal TV show?
I don't know. What? Oh, wait. I do know. Ghost Diaries, right?
That's right.
You can check us out and get involved at www.questresearch.net. And the good thing about being new is that we will only get better.
This is an EVP. This is an EVP. These were recorded by the Long Island Ghost Hunting Team. Light. To hear more, come listen to Light Paranormal Radio. Go to lightparanormal.com and subscribe to us in iTunes.
Dad, the whole time. What was that? That was me. No, I heard a woman's voice. You heard a woman's voice? Yeah. What is that? Sound like hello.
Show me how. like there's something happening in your home or business? Something you can't explain? Do you think that whatever is happening seems to be paranormal? Do they exist? Florida Ghost Hunters at FloridaGhostHunters.com are looking for haunted locations throughout Central Florida. Let the team at Florida Ghost Hunters investigate your paranormal experience. Their mission is to disprove a haunting with science, to find a reasonable explanation to a problem, and whatever is left becomes evidence. FloridaGhostHunters.com. If you've experienced paranormal activity in your home or business, you are urged to visit FloridaGhostHunters.com and click Need Help. FloridaGhostHunters.com.
This is Ghostly Talk.
Boy, I have to say, thank God the last hour of this show is pre-taped tonight.
Yes.
I don't think I can take any more of this excitement.
I kind of really enjoyed what we've done so far.
Oh, I know. But I'm exhausted.
I'm not.
You guys have so much energy, so maybe you guys can keep going for a full 8 hours.
I can't really.
Bonnie has stamina.
What?
You said it, man. You said you don't like to get sweaty. So
I said I didn't like to get sweaty. I love getting sweaty now.
Oh,
girl.
You know what? Just increase those lower zones, and you'll have lots of physical energy.
There we go.
Well, yeah, I'm trying. I am decreasing the lower zone. It's called my belly because as a result. What? No, we're done with this conversation. Doug, get into this thing. Help me out here.
We're talking with Dr. Treyce DeGabriel. www.treyce.com. TREYCE.com. That, of course, is linked up at ghostlytalk.com. About handwriting. Well, it should have been about metaphysical psychology and what that is, what it means, but for some reason we of course latched right onto your handwriting expertise, Dr. Gabriel. But a metaphysical psychology.
Yeah.
That sounds so interesting. Let's talk about that for a bit. What we probably should have started talking about.
Well, that's a good thing about being, one of a live show. You can ad-lib as you go, and there's no pre-planning, obviously, at least with my section.
Right.
Metaphysical psychology, it looks at every part of your psyche and your life as opposed to just talk therapy. I mean, I have all my traditional degrees are in criminal psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I went to my doctorate program, I thought, who am I fooling? I have never believed in traditional psychology. What am I doing? Because traditional psychology has been around for 100 years, and the world keeps getting worse. So obviously, it's not doing a whole lot.
And how does that make you feel?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And God, I hate that question.
I do too.
Or the other one, tell me about your relationship with your parents.
Oh, gosh, yes.
They're dead because I killed them.
If you're 75 and you want to get back to being 8, come on.
Oh yes, I completely agree. And you know what's interesting is over in the medical field, we're all talking about very, very smart people who've been to school for years and years and years. You can't just get even a 4-year degree. You got to go for 7 years, and you have to have internships. So even in the medical part, they're just now starting to embrace a little bit more, not much, but a little bit more holistic medicine and treating the whole self and saying,
right.
I not only want to know about your aches and pains, but I also want to know, what does it mean to you? What is what else do you do? What can we treat the whole person as opposed to just, the person has, a rash or whatever that they don't know what it is. So they're trying to, expand a little bit, and a
little bit more open-minded, yeah.
Yeah, and same thing with the other side, the doctors of the mind, psychologists and psychiatrists are evidently not enough are actually looking at the whole person. They're just going through the same thing that's been taught for years and years since Sigmund Freud, and they're just going on and on the same way, hoping that these people just, I guess, get better.
Snap up and come around.
Yeah. You just smack, get better.
Well, it's kind of funny because I do basically my internship, for lack of better words, when I was going through the program. I just got done June 1st. I got my doctorate, and 12 years of college. I'm still burned out of school, but
congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I do still do some subcontracting work for the county, and it's interesting because you have to, when it comes to the county, you have to put your traditional hat on, and you look at these situations where you have let's say a 16-year-old girl, and sometimes even younger, 12, 14, girls with 5 or 6 different psych meds because they've been labeled bipolar, which it's like, has anybody considered the fact that they might be hormonal and just a typical teenager? There's got to be some room for that somewhere. You can't just label. When I was growing up, everybody had tubes put in their ears. And then it became everybody was, ADD and then ADHD. Now everybody's bipolar.
Wow.
It's like if we, I look at it from my clinic. I have as you know, I have an online clinic and a local clinic. So when I meet with my clients, whether it's webcam on their appointment day or whether it's actually physically at my clinic, once you peel back all the stuff that's going on in all their areas, all their stressors and all their triggers and all these things that are going on, if we can balance some of that, peel out everything that's circumstantial, that's also environmental or external stressors, we can look at what's left over. Now, not to say that nobody's bipolar, but I mean, not everybody is either. So, I have a problem, a significant problem with traditional psychology.
Well, it just seems like, and we've all, there's been jokes made about that, about certain diseases that are just kind of like in, I guess. Mm-hmm. Everybody had AIDS in the 90s. Now everybody in this decade, it seems like everybody has cancer now. The cancer is the big thing.
Right.
Going around.
And maybe bipolar is, that's the big key word.
Well, I remember when I was growing up, all the women would go over they'd have vacations. You hear, when I was growing up, you would hear, oh, did you hear about, Mrs. Smith down the road? Yeah, she's gone in for 2 weeks. And what they would do is they would go to these places and have a nervous breakdown, and then they'd come back. And it sounded so wonderful to me. And there's a certain amount of time where I just want to go and have a nervous breakdown.
At what point in time you actually planned one?
I did. I did plan a nervous breakdown, and but it just didn't. It wasn't the same as in the mid-70s.
Right, because you didn't have a bunch of ladies gossiping about you?
Right. Nobody cares at this point.
Well, what it is, though, is like metaphysical psychology, the way that we look at it, not to speak for myself, the way I look at it is we have all this internal energy, and most of the time our body and our mind don't work together anyway. Usually our body will feel like, I want to go do something, and then our mind will say something like, well, you're too fat, you can't do that. So then you're like, okay, I'm not going to do it.
Sounds like an internal dialogue with me. Yeah, it really does.
So they don't usually work together. So I'm not going to take somebody to a traditional psychologist that's going to re-victimize them and drag them through the mud. If they have all the energy, we're better off focusing on the here and now, and then the rest of their life, not wasting time on stuff that can't go back and be changed. It makes no sense, no logical sense. And, it's funny because when I link the psychology to the handwriting, I've had all kinds of traditional psychologists, who are locked in their little box, their black and white box. And they say, well, I don't believe in that handwriting therapy. Really? Well, for the last 100 years, you guys have been telling all of your clients to start journaling, do you honestly think the pen and the paper is doing the healing?
Oh. And that's an interesting...
And when I pose that question, they don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Because you could journal on a newspaper. It's not the pen and the paper, you know?
Well, journaling itself, I mean, I tend to write a lot of stuff down now. I mean, ideas, if I'm trying to plan something, I'll usually jot, notes down. I mean, it's usually, I don't really write it down, though. I mean, it's usually, I should just totally shut it.
I blog when I'm angry.
We all blog when we're angry. I generally, I guess it wouldn't apply, because I just thought about this. I mean, Dr. Gabe, I usually just type lists out or ideas out or something like that. But that's therapeutic, though, because it kind of gets my thoughts in order. And
it's a little therapeutic, but I think they mean, like, the events of the day and how you felt and how you reacted.
Mm-hmm.
Like, little old lady was walking across the street, so I pushed. Yeah.
That'd be a bestseller list from me if I was.
Yes, that would be amazing.
I want to kill. That's the name of the book. I want to kill everybody.
Hey, that's my book title.
That's my manifesto. I don't get it. I was working on that.
But no, what you're saying then is essentially it isn't just the journaling itself. But yeah, I mean the pen and the paper aren't doing the healing. I mean, I guess it is you putting these things down and look. I mean, I'm trying to put words to this, Dr. Gabe.
You're kind of working through it in your own way by writing it out.
Well, and it's for people who, like a lot of the clients I have that are on webcam, they're in smaller towns, 500, 2,000 people, whatever. They don't want, if there is a psychology place in the area, they don't want everybody to see their car parked there because, oh, my God, the church ladies are going to go nuts with the rumors. So they prefer to do it from home if they can, or the remote people who maybe are agoraphobic and afraid to go out in public, or maybe do have transportation problems, or maybe medically can't go out, or have to drive 2 hours one way to get to any help. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people do that, and I think journaling is one of those things where people just want to try to do it on their own. They don't want to have to kind of put their stuff out there. And it's not, the handwriting therapy, Scott, I don't know if you remember last time, I think we briefly touched on the handwriting therapy project I did for the juveniles in Texas.
Right.
And that was in 2006. And we just ran their backgrounds again in May of this year, and to date, after the handwriting formation therapy program, to date, none of them have reoffended. Wow. It completely stopped the recidivism rate with them. And that's after they failed at every single traditional therapy and after they tried all these meds. And that's the other thing, too, is with these meds. You go to see a psychiatrist, you're in there about not even 5 minutes, if you're lucky 5 minutes. And they're like, oh, how you doing today? Okay, great, here's your prescription.
Yes, because everyone is depressed now, too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, of course. And the thing is I always tell my clients, look, if you go to the guy with the O, he'll listen to you, or he's supposed to. If you go to the guy with the I, all he does is say, I'm going to write you a prescription. So the O talks and listens, and the I writes.
The psychiatrist versus psychologist? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Because a lot of people don't know the difference. So they go to a psychiatrist thinking, oh, I'm going to be able to do some talking, and he's going to listen to me. But they're the prescription writers. The guy with the O, the psychologist, is like, oh, yeah, well, let's hear this. I mean, not that I think that he's going to do a whole lot of stuff, but, my last professor told me that currently, traditional psychology is only at a 16th century level. And if you combine all the traditional therapies, you combine them all under one umbrella, it cannot even claim a 50% success rate overall as far as long-term health and life enhancement.
It just seems that, and we've said this before on the show plenty of times, the whole drug issue. I mean, I got a real issue with the whole drug issue because it seems like people are being drugged up way too much nowadays.
I agree.
Well, and they don't have any reason to better their lives if they're living and basically the system's enabling them. They have no reason to better their lives if they can live on, SSI or whatever and sit there on psych meds.
Yeah, I mean, all it's doing, it seems like, it's just like a lot of stuff out there. It's just a little Band-Aid you throw on there for the time being, and when it wears off, you take another one and put another Band-Aid on there.
See, I think that there are, because I remember mentioning this on the show a long, long time ago, and I said, at the time, and I still think it's true, the pharmacological or whatever they are companies are making just literally tons and tons and tons of money, and so they make it worthwhile for doctors to just prescribe, right?
Well, and that's the thing too is that the professor was saying that approximately 5 years ago, the pharmaceutical companies overall in the United States were making less than $500,000 a year. Now they're making over $5 million.
Yeah, and see, but the thing is, I think that they do that, but I think that I was corrected. Like Kimberly sent me an email and said, hey, there are people out there who need these medicines.
Yeah,
I mean, there
absolutely,
are people,
but not
and I
everyone.
agree. But I do think that they've taken it into a pop society kind of thing.
My dad, when he just got out of the hospital last week, the night before, I told you the whole debacle thing, right? We left him there overnight, and they gave us his script for Percocet. I'm sure you're familiar with that, Dr. Gabe.
Mm-hmm.
He broke his wrist. So, and there was they curbed the pain, obviously. Temporary, mind you, very, very.
Well, see,
temporary.
that's the key. That's the key, Scott. You hit that up. I mean, the prescription meds are supposed to be to get you through a situation.
Yeah.
And antidepressants were created for the same thing. Antidepressants weren't created to live on. They were created to get you through a stressful or depressing or sad situation.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get through that, then it was meant for you to get back on your feet and do your thing. And then if you needed them again, then in the future, yes. But now people are living on them. It's like, we did, for one of my projects in college, we were supposed to do something that was creative to show how the prescriptions affect families. And so what I did was I set a nice-looking, Ward and Jude Cleaver kind of family down on the supper table, teenage son, teenage daughter, and mom and dad, the ideal American family. And I put their dinner dishes. And in each dinner dish, I put different psych meds.
Oh.
With the forks and spoons and the drinks. I mean, because that's what it's like. It's almost being served as a meal. There's so many. I know a 12-year-old girl who I just took into my clinic. She has been in the traditional system since she was 9. Okay, so 3 years. She'll be 13 next week, so almost 4 years. And she's at 12 years old was prescribed 11 meds, psych meds.
Oh my God.
Okay, now nobody's even considering the toxicity that could possibly be going on.
Yeah, these are chemicals
and everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And then the mom was saying, well, none of these meds work. We've tried everything. They don't work. I said, okay, well, let me ask you this. Because the mom's complaint was she's misbehaving at home. Well, does she misbehave at school? No.
Well, beat the hell out of the kid and move on, for Christ's sake.
Well, then, you know what? Then it is behavioral. It's not mental illness. Mental illness doesn't discriminate between home and school or work.
Yeah.
So if it's mental illness, it's going to be present no matter what location they're in. If it is behavioral, then it is circumstantial based on where they're at. They can control those behaviors. So that means there's no pill for behavioral issues.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
So I think a lot of people don't realize that this is not it. And parents, too. Parents used to try to work with their kids, talk to their kids, think would spend more time with their kids. Now they're like, oh, my kid's acting up, so therefore he needs to go into boot camp.
Yeah.
Parents are quicker to get rid of their kids and to blame it on the system or dump them on the mental health system and say, here, do something with them. I can't handle it anymore.
Well, that's why we have a whole generation of people that were raised on Barney now.
Literally,
come on. But that's the thing. That's what happened. No, I mean, with my dad, though, for example, I mean, they gave him the prescription, and the next morning I come back to pick him up, and they're like, oh, here's your prescription. I'm like, whoa, hey, we already got the thing. We'll just take this one in case you need some more.
I know.
The sad thing is there's a lot of people that would take
And the funniest part is my dad, after 2 days, he's like, I'm in space here. I'm going to deal with the pain.
Well, that's
going to deal with the
when
pain.
I had my gallbladder out. They gave me Vicodin.
Oh, yeah.
I think
of painkillers.
I think I had, my prescription was for, 30 pills. Something ridiculous.
Still got some?
I took 2.
You can sell them on Craigslist.
Yes, you can.
I absolutely did not like the way they made me feel.
Yeah,
so
they make you wasted.
I stopped taking them.
No, yeah, and it just seems like, just that little situation, which obviously in my dad's case was nothing with mental health at all, but it was a painkiller, and it's like, I asked the lady, I'm like, don't you guys have a record of you giving me a slip last night saying, we already gave him one, he's good to go, but it's like, well, hey, well, write me off 4 more, and I'll start selling these things on the street, hon.
Exactly.
If it's that easy to get drugs here, it's that easy to get drugs, let's party. Come on. But it's a problem, though. It's a huge problem, and I've seen friends do this. Yeah. And again, it just comes down to, like you just said, there is the issue. It's a behavioral issue. It isn't an issue with your kid being depressed. It isn't a chemical imbalance. It's that you don't know how to. And I'm not a parent, but in my opinion, you don't know how to raise a child. Maybe you should get some help.
And that's actually
yourself.
right. You know, most of the time when I get called on a situation where there's an out-of-control teenager or an out-of-control 3-year-old, it's usually the parent that needs help, not the child. Yeah. I actually was out on a call. A police called me out to do an assessment on a child who was 3. And the mom was hiding behind the couch because the kid was throwing toys at her. So the mom called 911 because she's scared for her life. I said, for God's sake, he's 3. So I get there, and I would get the kid calmed down, and I asked the mom, so what do you do for a living? I'm a preschool teacher. How many of these kids in your class do you let control your classroom? None. Then why do you let your child control your home?
Exactly. And
I mean, honestly, this is not rocket science.
No, it's pretty obvious, and that's ironic you mentioned that because growing up in the neighborhood with my parents out there, and out there was a kid around the block who was a nice. He was off. Let's be frank, he was off. There was something weird with him, and guess what? Both of his parents did. They're both elementary school teachers.
Wow.
Both of them, for God's sake. And I remember hearing that when I was like 13. I'm going, boy, that's rich. And I'm 13 and I know that. It's like, come on, man. So, yeah, a behavioral issue. That's what it comes down to. And metaphysical psychology, it sounds like that's where you're leaning more towards. Let's get down to the root of this thing, as opposed to just throwing out like piles of drugs.
Well, what I like about I think medical psychology is more, or metaphysical psychology is more about everything, your psyche, your body, your
right, exactly.
mind.
Because everything plays into your reaction and your emotion. Everything does. And to just talk it out does great, but if you're going to go back to the same situation you've come from, how long is that talk therapy going to work?
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? And that's the thing. It's really about, okay, give me a list, and I give all my clients a goal sheet. Okay, what's your goals? What do you want from me? How can I help you? I want to hear from them. It's more of a person-centered therapy. It's their therapy. They need to be in it, not a traditional person saying, I think you need to go to EMDR, or I think you need to go get an MMPI done, or I think you need, it's not about what the doctor thinks, really. It's really about where the person sees themselves in the therapy. And, if we can, and I always ask them for a list of stressors. If one of your stressors is bills, well, then let's work on finding a way to do that. If one of your stressors is housing, then let's work on a way to do something with that. If we take all of these things that are making you feel depressed and suicidal and we work on them, at the end, you probably won't be depressed and suicidal. It's circumstantial.
Well, you're facing the issues head on, to me. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
My neighbors were upsetting me for a very long time. So I finally, after all this time,
poisoned their dog and they moved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No.
I'm sorry. I went completely wrong.
I sat down with them and I talked to them and said, let's work this thing out together. And we worked it out, and God, do I feel good.
Yeah.
Because
all relationships really are based on communication.
Completely. Yeah, and that's what you have to do. The problem is with some situations, you get so angry at them that you don't want to communicate with them. That's where the real challenge comes, I think. And I'm not a psychologist by any means, but that's where the real challenge is, actually looking someone in the eye and going, I don't like you right now, but I want to. Like in this situation.
And the thing is, too, is when you help these people go through it, they are forced to do the work. And so that makes them feel better at the end, but really it's about you're giving them lifelong lessons. So the next time a similar situation comes along, they can handle it. They're better equipped to handle it. They're not just going to run and get an antidepressant.
Yep, exactly.
Because that's not going to make your bad neighbor go away, or that's not going to pay your bills. That antidepressant is not going to help you for the long term.
You might as well just go down to the corner bar and get loaded, because it's the same effect.
At that point, yeah.
It's the same effect.
Exactly. Really, that's that. Yeah.
There's no difference. Unfortunately, though,
that flew by again.
That was a fast hour.
Can we bring her back for like a 2 hour?
I do want to give your listeners an offer though.
Sure.
With my clinic, I do something called subconscious cleansing, where all the seeds of past incidences have been planted subconsciously. So therefore, they can always grow into trees and cause problems. So in order to completely eliminate that, there's an exercise to do that's what I did with the juveniles, and I developed it in '87, and it's never failed anybody. So,
cool.
If they mention your show and they mention subconscious cleansing, I will email them the exercise.
Oh,
wow!
So check that out, people. check that out. And if you're listening to archive or if you're listening right now or whatever it may be, I know I could use that. There's some stuff to see.
Well, and the clinic website is lovemyselftoday.com.
Okay, yeah, we didn't get that one. Sorry about that.
Oh, I like that.
Love Myself Today.
I think
people are so worried about taking care of everybody else, they put their own needs on the back burner. And you can't be really
Treyce,
good for anybody else until you take care of yourself.
Yes, you and I need to sit down with a bottle of wine and just bitch. Because I'm telling you, man, you just nailed it. Wow. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump all over you, but as soon as I heard it, I'm like, oh, yes, I know what you're going to say, and I agree with you 100%.
Well, you're going to have to come visit Phoenix. It gives you an excuse. Come tour my clinic and come visit Phoenix.
Yes! We're going to have to
go.
All right, we're on the way. I want to point everybody to www.treyce.com, TREYCE.com, and
Love
of
Myself
course,
Today.
Yep, lovemyselftoday.com as well. And go there, email Treyce, send a mention Ghostly Talk and the cleansing thing, and
or
also
the free mini profile, free quickie,
or a quickie. Have a quickie with Treyce. You just write out. Oh wait,
I will be having a quickie with Treyce.
I was thinking of it too. But anyway, so you just write out and then either fax or email your handwriting thing and get a quick handwriting analysis profile of yourself.
Hang on the line.
Fascinating.
Hang on the line for 1 second, Treyce. Don't leave us just yet.
Okay.
What do we got coming up here next, Doug?
Next we're going to be talking with Dr. Bob Hieronimus about the Great Seal and the symbols of America, the symbols from our forefathers, from the founding fathers.
Yep. And being up front like we always are, it's pre-taped. Okay, this is one of those ones where we, the only reason we really pre-tape stuff nowadays is because usually the schedule conflicts, if we really want to get somebody on the show, we'll we pre-tape like this. So it's a pre-tape thing. So we're gonna go out and smoke.
Yeah, but believe me, we've already talked to Bob Hieronimus, and this
it's fantastic.
I was literally on the edge of my seat. So we have to thank Bob Hieronimus, Dr. Bob Hieronimus, for speaking with us earlier this week. You'll be hearing that up next. We have
Can't
to
thank Treyce enough also for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us.
And I want to thank
That was so fun. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And I want to thank every single one of you for tuning in, listening, downloading, however you hear Ghostly Talk. I want to thank you.
Showing over yet, Doug.
He can't thank him at the end.
I can't thank him at the end.
Because it's pre-taped, duh.
I guess that makes sense. Sorry, go ahead.
So I want to thank everybody for listening. Enjoy Dr. Bob coming up, and we will be talking with you next week, same time, same channel.
Miss a live broadcast? Feel free to download it direct from the on-demand archives at ghostlytalk.com.